Joining us right now to weigh in, former Defense and Economic Minister under Merkel, KT Guttenberg. KT, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning, Maria.
So should we expect fireworks? Should we expect a calm meeting? What are you looking for out of the Merkel-Trump meeting later today?
Yeah, you never know. I think it's one of the most interesting meetings in the last couple of weeks we could expect this afternoon or today. They're coming from two different planets. On one hand, you have the impulsiveness of the new president. On the other hand, you have the experience of the longest-serving head of government in the Western world. So, and you have, as you already mentioned it, there's a plethora of topics where they obviously disagree. So I hope that they will try everything to find common grounds, but it will be a tough meeting. And Angela Merkel is in an election year, and a lot of Germans expect her to be clear and blunt about the topics that matter to the Germans and the Europeans.
And KT, it's Dagan McDowell. Don't the Germans care about the influx of refugees, what is clearly a refugee problem? You go back to the beginning of last year and the mass sexual assaults in Cologne. That's common ground because Donald Trump, president here, is at least trying to do something about the inflow of refugees into the U.S.
That's common ground, you're right, and I think it should also be in the interest of the American president to tackle the root causes of mass immigration into Western countries together. It's not only talking about the Southern American border, it's talking about a wider region adjacent to the European Union that also has its influence and its impact on the U.S. So I think instead of bashing each other, instead of let's say, disparage any efforts that have been made so far, also with flaws, definitely, by the current Chancellor, it is important to stick the heads together and to come up with solutions. I think that's what the Germans expect, and at one point also will the Americans expect. Let's try to find solutions together and not against each other.
KT, the U.S. is Germany's biggest export market by far. You know that issue is going to come up. What do you see Merkel doing to try to preserve that trade relationship and not get off of course?
First of all, it will be interesting to see who prevails in the team around Donald Trump. Will it be the, let's call it the Goldman squad, or will it be Peter Navarro, who did not raise enthusiasm in Germany, as you can imagine, when he pushed and also criticized Germany regarding its budget and trade surplus, which is a problem, of course. I think they will talk about one point which is very often underestimated. That's the existing influence in creating jobs by German companies in the U.S. We are talking about more than 600,000 jobs created by German companies and German investment, and I think that makes it extremely hard to be too clear and too aggressive regarding a border adjustment tax, regarding tariffs and barriers. I don't think it's in a shared interest to push it too far and to slide into something like a trade war at the end of the day. And I think the meeting we have had yesterday between the German finance minister and the Treasury Secretary Mnuchin was already a promising sign. As we have seen, there is no interest to escalate it further.
So they're saying that yesterday's meeting might have been the good cop meeting and today's meeting might be the bad cop meeting. Do you expect that them to address some of the tougher issues today?
I don't think so. It's a first-time meeting, and I see a chancellor who has a lot of experience to deal with people who can spell self-confidence correctly. She dealt with Berlusconi, she dealt with Putin, she's still dealing with Erdogan with so-so success. But I think it's first of all preparing the grounds not for a trade battle or for economic differences, but for preparing the grounds to find something which we have in common. And I think the signals she's setting, that she's bringing 3 of the top German business leaders in her delegation, is a signal that she says, okay, I understand we might come from different planets, I understand that we might speak different languages, and we have a different background. Let's talk clearly in a language both sides understand, and I think that bears chances.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, there are clearly differences when it comes to the refugee issue. That has to come up. I mean, I wonder how they're going to both deal with this issue and talk about it with regard to what it means for borders.
Yeah, the question will be, does Angela Merkel fall into the same trap and to criticize a different country about different problems? Because we have heard a lot of German politicians criticizing that building walls is not the future for a world we would like to live in. On the other hand, we have seen a president and a president-elect openly criticizing another country about extreme efforts it had to undertake after, yes, a decision that has not been dealt well with. So I think from a diplomatic point of view, it makes a lot of sense to see where do we have commonalities, where do we differ, but where could we find an approach to finally work as an alliance again, and not just in a cherry-picking way. Let's try to find the partners where we can find them, and if someone differs a little bit with our opinion, let's push them against the wall. That's not a solution.
Right. I mean, look, the backdrop happens, you know, that's not so great, right? The backdrop for both of them. So they have to find common ground, and it feels like the trade story between Germany and the U.S. is intact. That doesn't seem to be an issue, and perhaps that's the big common ground.
That's common ground. I also think that they will find common grounds in security terms. We both have an interest on both sides of the Atlantic not to find a Russia and the Middle East falling into more shambles. I think the latest signals we've heard from the administration that NATO is not obsolete was quite promising. That's one thing. The other thing is, if the counterpart in the U.S. keeps bragging about being a master of the art of the deal will not be made between, or will not be shown between Germany and the U.S. It will be shown between the European Union and the U.S. And I hope that she can just give him some understanding that we are not interested in only bilateral trade deals or deals between single member states of the European Union and the U.S., but between the EU and the U.S. And that's quite a way to go, if I take his understanding into account here, but I don't think it is impossible.
Yeah.